Jasmine.
Good morning, Marshall. How are you today?
Life is good.
Wonderful. How many steps?
10,344.
How many push-ups?
0.
How many sit-ups?
50.
Did you do your best to be happy?
10.
Did you set clear goals?
10 on setting goals.
How about your minutes on TV?
30. Did I do my best to find meaning today? 10. 10. 8.
Коуч номер 1 по лидерству в мире. Встречайте, Маршall Goldsmith.
Marshall Goldsmith is the only two-time Thinkers 50 #1 leadership thinker in the world. He's been ranked the top executive coach in the world for the past 12 years. He's author or editor of 40 books, including 3 New York Times bestsellers. Here in St. Petersburg, for 50,000 people, let's welcome Marshall Goldsmith.
Marshall Goldsmith.
Here to present the award of Mr. Coaching himself, corporate America's favorite Buddhist executive coach, the inimitable Marshall Goldsmith.
I was lucky enough to be a creator in a field that's now called leadership coaching, and I'm very proud of one change. Years ago, people would be ashamed to have a coach, embarrassed to have a coach. And coaching was something to help people that had big problems. Today, coaching is for winners. People like the president of the World Bank, the CEO of the Year in the United States, the #2 CEO of the Year in the United States who's sitting over there. People like the winner of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, just amazing people. This is not only the story of my life, it's the story of a profession. What have I learned in my journey? Well, we can all earn our lives. No matter how successful we are, we need to earn our roles as leaders, as coaches, and we all need to go through life focused on continuous development and continuous growth. I'm very happy that Nicole Hyman, one of the top coaches in Europe, is going to write my biography. Hello, Nicole.
Marshall,
Thank you so much for coming.
well, thank you. I am so honored to be your biographer. I
Oh,
want to
thank you.
say-
I'm so much looking forward to working
Yeah,
with you.
Me too. Thank you.
Let's talk about my books. I've had the privilege of writing 40 different books in 32 languages. The books in this part of my bookshelf are books that I'm a contributor to. From here on up, these are books that I'm either the author or editor. My name's on the cover. It's great fun for me to travel around the world and see all the books. This is the part of my house I'm most proud of. And they talk about 4 basic themes for successful leaders. The first theme is courage. Let's look at my photo album and I'll give you where the inspiration for this courage theme came from. The concept of courage reminded me of a story from my youth that kind of changed my life. I was brought up in a small town called Valley Station, Kentucky, and as you can see from the pictures, very much a low-income, low-education environment. And one day, the roof started leaking in my home. This is my home. And one day, the roof started leaking, and the guy that put on the roof's name was Dennis Mudd. And to save some money, my father said, you know, Marshall, why don't you help Dennis Mudd with the roof? So I was his assistant roofer. And putting on a roof is very hard work in the summer, one of the harder jobs I've ever had. And we worked very hard, and he was very nice, and he tried to teach me all about the roof. And then he went to talk to my father. My father's name is Bill. And he said, Bill, I want you to inspect the roof. He said, if that roof is of high quality, pay me. And if it's not of high quality, it's all free. I looked at Dennis Mudd and I thought, this man is poor, but he is not cheap. He has integrity. And I said, as a 14-year-old boy, I want to be like Dennis Mudd when I grow up. Just the courage to stand up and say, I believe in what I'm doing. And in my coaching, I have a very unique billing system. I don't get paid if my clients don't get better. Every time I coach people, what do I say? I'll bet on it. Where'd I learn that? Dennis Mudd. And I never felt I had as much dignity as him because if I don't get the money, I'm fine. He really needed the money.
It takes courage to go with the truth.
It does.
And lead in integrity.
It does. It takes a lot of courage. And one of the most important qualities of the successful people I coach is courage. It takes courage to get feedback. It takes courage to look in the mirror. Growing up back in Kentucky, the odds on me writing 3 New York Times bestsellers from there and being Thinker of the Year would be snowball's chance in hell. Pretty much no chance. But I got some different expectations. These came from my mom, that's her. She was a teacher, and my dad had some dumb idea women shouldn't work. So she didn't work. We got to be poor. So what happened is, the bad news, we were poor. The good news, she put all of her school teacher energy into one student, me. I knew how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide before I went to school. I went to school, and I'm 6 years old. They didn't have preschool. The teacher goes, 1 + 1 is 2. I'm thinking, well, yeah. I look around. Yeah. No one knows this but me. I'm thinking, whoa. I said to my mother, life is good. Life is good. I said, what a planet. You can't lose on this planet. So I was very happy. And then growing up, she wanted me to go to college. So I was told, you will go to college. It was never a vote. And she didn't want me to work in that gas station. She wanted to work in that gas station? What do you think? No, not mommy. She said, you have no mechanical skills and you will never have any mechanical skills the rest of your life. So I'm programmed to believe I have no mechanical skills. I'm never encouraged to run cars, tools, mechanical things, so I don't learn. My father, you have no mechanical skills. My friends, I'm 18, the United States Army, took a test. Bottom 2% of the whole United States. You have no mechanical skills. My dad, I got my sense of humor from my dad. Hilarious, hilarious, hilarious guy. He was always joking around, a great sense of humor.
I see a picture of you there in Africa. What is the story behind it and what's the meaning of it for you?
That to me is the most meaningful picture in my life. In 1984, I went to Africa with the International Red Cross. I was a volunteer in the Red Cross and I went to watch the African Famine Campaign. And it's a picture of a woman in Mali. She's kneeling and I'm kneeling by her and she's measuring the arms of children. And if you were under 2 years old, you got no food, you got to die. If you were over 16, you got no food, you got to die. They fed children between 2 and 16. She's measuring the arms of the children. If their arms are too big, they got no food, they're not hungry enough. If their arms are too small, they're gonna die anyway. If their arms were in the middle, they got food. This is called triage. That's a picture of me looking into the camera. I was with the Associated Press then. I was looking into the camera, trying to send a message to the me of today. And the message is, be grateful for what you have. Those could be your children. That could be you. And always be grateful for what you have because those people are just as good as you and me. So that was a very meaningful picture for me, very important in my life.
you've done at Partners in Health, how many millions of lives did you guys save?
The small demonstration project in Haiti where we showed that you can treat HIV even in the poorest communities led to more than 20 million people being on treatment today who would otherwise have died if we hadn't been able to make that change. And so there's no way that at Partners in Health or even at the World Bank that we could have afforded to pay the kind of coaches that you would bring in for free. The group of us who were all being coached by you, it was a wonderful experience because we could also commiserate on just how painful it was to go through our first feedback session with you. And the rules, the Marshall rules applied in those meetings. And so it was just wonderful to be there with these Fortune 50 CEOs sitting in a room knowing that if we said no, but got defensive, we had to put $20 on the table.
Right.
And so I remember in one of these sessions, you kept poking at us. You kept poking at us so that we would reveal more about what we were doing. And then you'd tell stories about some of the really stupid things that we did. And you were doing it in front of all the other CEOs. And so, of course, when you'd say, well, now look at this person here. Now, you know what this person did? And we knew intellectually that you were doing it so that everyone would feel more comfortable with the things that they had to get better on, right? This is such a difficult lesson for leaders. They get into these positions, they think, I have to lead with authority, I have to be sure of myself, I have to be charismatic. And it's exactly the opposite of what you teach. You have to be humble, you have to listen, you have to ask for help, and you say thank you. It was just transformative for me. And it gave me the confidence to do it. Mm-hmm. And now, you know, the bank is more than double the size it was when we started.
It is my honor now to introduce Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. Marshall has a PhD from our Anderson School. He graduated in 1977 with a degree in organizational behavior. He is the only PhD graduate to win the John Anderson Distinguished Alumni Award. Please help me welcome now Dr. Marshall Goldsmith.
Thank you so much. I'm always happy to be back at Anderson. I had a wonderful experience here as a student. I was interviewed in the Harvard Business Review and asked a question. What is the #1 problem of all those successful people you've worked with over the years? Sense the problem in this very room. Yes, I feel many of you may be afflicted with this very disease. What was my answer? Winning too much. What does this mean? If it is important, we want to win. I'm now going to give you a case study of winning too much that almost all of my clients fail, and I will make a prediction. Almost all of you will fail this case study. When I say fail, you will fail yourself. You will say, what I did do is the opposite of what I know I should have done. Here is case #1. You have a hard day at work, a hard day, under so much pressure. Numbers, 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 more. School, test. Such a hard day. You go home. Your wife, husband, friend, or partner is there, and the other person says, I had such a hard day today. I had such a tough day. And we reply, you had a hard day. You had a hard day. Do you have any idea what I had to put up with today? Do you think you had a hard day? We are so competitive, we have to prove we are more miserable than the people we live with. I gave this example to my class at the Dartmouth Tug School. A young man in the back raised his hand. He said, I did that last week. I asked him, what happened? He said, my wife looked at me. She said, honey, you just think you had a hard day. It is not over.
Tell me all about your university years here at UCLA.
Here I was in something called encounter groups for 8 hours a day for several months. Hours and hours of practice on interpersonal dynamics, which has totally influenced my coaching. One story from the group says, old Dr. Tannenbaum was my teacher. And we're encouraged to talk about whatever we wanted. So I talked about people in Los Angeles. I said, people in Los Angeles are so screwed up. They're riding around in these Bentleys and wear sequin blue jeans. They're plastic and materialistic. 3 weeks I babble on about people in Los Angeles. Finally, old Dr. Tannenbaum scratches his beard and he says, Marshall, who are you talking to? I said, I guess I'm talking to the group. He said, who in the group you're talking to? I said, I guess everybody. He said, Marshall, every time you've spoken, you looked at only one person. You seem interested in the opinion of only one person. Who is that person? I said, you. He said, that's right, me. Why me? There are 10 other people. I said, well, you know, Dr. Tannenbaum, I think a person with their deep background can understand the significance of what I'm saying. He scratched his beard and he said, is there any chance for the last 3 weeks all you've been doing is trying to impress me? I said, no, Dr. Tannenbaum, you missed the point of everything I said. I've been telling you how screwed up it is to try to impress people. I don't think you understood one thing I said. He looked at me, he scratched his beard, he goes, I think I understand. I look around the room, I see these 10 heads are going like this. I hated his guts for 6 months. I hated old Dr. Tannenbaum. 6 months later, I said, thank you, sir. He taught me such a great lesson. The lesson is, it's very hard to see things in ourselves that we don't want to see. And it's so much easier to find our problems in everyone else than it is to look in the mirror. And that's really shaped a lot of what I do for a living today.
How did you get into leadership development?
Very, very fortunate. I met Dr. Paul Hersey, probably the highest paid and best known leadership development consultant in the world at his time. He got double booked. He said, can you do what I do? I said, I don't know. He said, I'll pay you $1,000 for one day. I was making $15,000 for 1 year. I said, sign me up, coach. I did a program for the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company in New York City. I was very fortunate. I got ranked first place of all the speakers. They were angry when I showed up, but happy when I left. They called Paul up. They said, Paul, send Marshall again. Paul said, do you want to do this again? That's how I got into leadership development.
And that was the start. So how did it go on? How did you move from leadership development to coaching?
Well, we eventually got into 360-degree feedback. I'm a pioneer in something called custom design 360-degree feedback. And I started giving leaders feedback and looking at their behavior, noticing who changed and who didn't. A CEO talked to me and said, I have this young man working for me. Young, smart, dedicated, hardworking, driven to achieve, jerk. He said, it'd be worth a fortune to me if he turned his behavior around. I remembered that fortune again. I said, maybe I can help him. He said, I doubt it. I said, maybe I can help him. He said, I don't think so. Then I said, I'll work with him for a year. He gets better, pay me. Doesn't get better, all free. He got better, I got paid. CEO said, do it. And that led to my pay only for results coaching. One day he called me in and he said, you're making too much money and you're too successful. You're too comfortable. He said, you're not writing, you're not thinking, you're not challenging yourself. You're never going to be the person you could become. And you know, if I had to look back on my life, he was right. Probably 8 years I lived out that prophecy, and I would do it a little different. I was fortunate to meet Frances Hesselbein and some other people who changed my life after that. That was probably the best advice I didn't listen to from Dr. Hersey. And I have a suggestion for you. I think it would be great for you to talk with some of these people who've had such a positive influence on my life for a couple of reasons. One, you want to write a biography about me. They are an important part of this story. And number two, I think it'd just be great for you. Just being around these people who really have been heroes to me and changed my life, and they would appreciate it too. The one I would put always at the top of the list is my wonderful friend Frances Hesselbein, winner of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, 25 honorary PhDs, a wonderful friend of mine.
Welcome to
Frances.
Wonderful to see you.
I'm so happy to be here too. I've heard so much about you.
She called up and said, can you do a program for the Girl Scout leaders from the big cities?
And he got there, he said, well, I came because you asked me, but I don't have any clean clothes. All my clothes are dirty.
I said, Frances, this is embarrassing, but I got to get my clothes cleaned. And I'm in a different city every day. Can you get my clothes cleaned there at the Girl Scout Center? She said, not a problem. Here's what you do. Put your clothes in a pile on the floor. I'll have someone pick it up. All your clothes will be done. No problems.
So I picked up Marshall's clothes and I'm walking down the hall and he's sitting with a number of distinguished women.
And I look, and walking across the hall is Frances Hesselbein, carrying my dirty laundry. She didn't say a word. She never brought it up. Every woman saw her. She could have had any woman in that room carry the laundry. No, she carried the laundry.
Well, it's what you do.
That's the mark of a great leader. Not lead by talk, lead by example. So, how are the grandkids doing?
Well, they're finishing up their soccer, so they have one more game, and they're the mighty Penguins. I don't think they've scored any this year, but hey, they've enthusiasm. They've got a lot of enthusiasm.
Valiant effort has been made by all. I have an idea. Let's go for a walk in the backyard.
How did you meet? When did it start?
It was in May of '71. I was in getting my doctorate. Marshall was getting his MBA. We were properly introduced, I like to say. Properly introduced. So.
Yeah, so we met at a party at Indiana University. Yeah.
Did you fall in love immediately, or how did it go?
No. But I think we were attracted to one another immediately, and we started dating. Yeah. But then he went away to UCLA for school, so that long distance we kept that going, and even one time he hitchhiked back to Indiana.
Yeah, a few thousand miles. I was a good boyfriend.
You were a good boyfriend.
Good boyfriend,
Yeah.
hitchhiking thousands of miles. Yeah, so we got married back in Indiana. That's our wedding. Yeah, and we had a very fancy wedding. We had a reception that cost about, I think, $80.
In fact, my original wedding ring was my grandmother's stone because he didn't have money for a diamond, and one of our friends' father was a real goldsmith.
Yes.
And he made the bands for us.
Yeah.
But on our 40th wedding anniversary, I got a real wedding ring.
A real one. Yeah.
Got a real one.
Got a real one.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
We didn't go on the luxury honeymoon.
But we did go back to Indiana, back to where we met, and spent several days there and just reminiscing over old times. And then we traveled cross country.
Lida was not happy with me because the tent we had, I believe, cost $6.
Okay.
Some people would call it an open-ended garbage bag.
Yeah.
So.
And then one night it rained, and she was not in a good mood. No, it was raining, and we were in a $6 tent.
Some guy who owned a gas station was renting out the little plot of grass so people could camp.
Oh, wow.
That's where we camped.
Yeah, we had a $6 tent at a gas station.
Well,
But we got to see the World's Fair.
We did, and when we got married, it wasn't exactly like this.
But it feels like love.
And life is good, and we've been married almost 45 years. Everything is going well.
Oh, but at 50... Yeah, this
I was
is
afraid this
important.
would come up.
At 50, he's good at a performance appraisal, and we're going to renegotiate the contract. I've already told him this. So.
She'd warned me in advance.
I warned him in advance. At 50, don't count on this.
After 50, there's no guarantees. No, she told me she's doing a performance appraisal, and if I'm not a good husband, out.
Why do you have so many Buddha statues in the house?
Well, everyone knows I'm a philosophical Buddhist. So as I travel around the world, people give me Buddhas. They give me small Buddhas. They give me big Buddhas. They give me little Buddhas. They give me Buddha books, Buddha pictures. So I have many, many Buddhist things around the house, and I use them to remind me to be happy now. Be happy. To me, my interpretation of Buddhism is a philosophy of life. A philosophy of life based on acceptance. And as Peter Drucker said, change what you can change and make peace with what you cannot change. Focus your life on what you can do. Don't become fixated on what you can't do.
One of the important qualities of leaders is humility. How does Buddhism relate to humility?
Well, I think an important point of Buddhism is the acceptance of what is, and not the belief that I'm special because I'm wonderful or I'm different or I'm better than other people. Really learning that, as a leader, you're not perfect. You're just human. And it's great to ask for ideas, listen, and have the humility to say thank you, just like Thich Nhat Hanh. Thank you. Don't judge or critique or pretend to be better than others. Listen to their ideas, thank them. You don't have to do everything as a leader people say. Leadership's not a popularity contest. The important thing is to learn to listen, demonstrate humility, do what you can, and be a servant, not a boss.
Why do you always wear khakis and a green shirt?
I always wear the same clothes every day, khaki pants and a green shirt. And the reason is the New Yorker magazine wrote the story of my life a few years ago. Larissa Farquhar, a wonderful story. And in the story she said, I always wore a green t-shirt and khaki pants. I don't think I really did always wear a green t-shirt and khaki pants, but she said I did. After that, people expected me to wear a green t-shirt and khaki pants, so I wear the same clothes every day. So, now, a funny story. 3 women from the Bell South Company come to my home in California, and they're walking around, and they don't know I'm behind them. And one woman looks in the closet, and she sees 15 pair of khaki pants. She didn't know I could hear her. She looked at her friend and goes, "Thank God. I thought he only owned 1 pair of pants." What's the most important thing you've learned from me?
Actually, Mojo was my favorite book.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Mojo, was all about being responsible for your own health and your own happiness and your own career. And I've used that with a lot of other people. And what you're saying, change you, change them, or change your job. And I say that to people a lot. That was really helpful.
Hello.
Sorry, I hope I wasn't bothering you looking out the window.
Oh, no, my name is Marshall Goldsmith.
I think I've heard that name before. I'm Nicholas Nicolaisen. Pleasure.
Nice to meet you, Nicholas. Where are you headed?
To visit some clients and some partners.
Okay, what do you do?
I'm a wealth manager and operate a brokerage in Switzerland. What about you?
I coach executives. So I've been the coach of the CEO of Ford and Pfizer and Glaxo and the World Bank and the Mayo Clinic and all kinds of wonderful people.
Whoa, well, that's interesting. I know extremely little about coaching, but I am an executive. Tell me more.
You don't mind getting free coaching on the airplane, right?
Well, we have another 40 minutes, right?
Others have to pay a huge amount of money for this. You're getting this for free.
So I'm a good businessman, what can I say?
Hey, why not? So I love my job. So I love to coach people. So let me describe what I do. My mission is to help successful leaders get even better. So I usually either coach the CEO or someone who could be the CEO, or in your case, is it a little bit like a private equity firm, the way it's structured?
Exactly.
What would you like to drink?
Go ahead.
I'll take if you could have sparkling water.
Yeah, me too. That sounds good.
But you would also target...
Now, one thing I teach my clients, though, is when people talk to you, you never start a sentence with no, but, or however. You just did that. But I find my clients $20 every time they do that. But, so what's your favorite charity?
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
My favorite charity, probably Doctors Without Borders.
Oh, I love them. You owe them $20 now for that butt.
Okay, I will come into promise.
You didn't know there's a price for this coaching.
I would be giving them $20 this year anyway.
I know that. Doesn't matter. This is a good discipline. So if you start a sentence, if I talk to you, you start a sentence with no, but, however, they get $20. I do this with my poor clients. I've raised over $1 million for charity by doing this. It's so much fun.
But it is very difficult.
Did you say but again?
No, it is.
It is. You said it is.
It is very difficult to be an achiever without being a little bit stubborn.
That's right.
Because otherwise you would have given up on the first turn.
Well, my book is called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And what you have identified is a classic problem. See, for the achiever, you need to win all the time and be right. For the leader, you need to quit being the smartest person in the room. You need to let others win.
Yeah, but you still feel a responsibility. $40, damn.
$40.
This is turning out to be an expensive flight. But all the, I mean, that was quite an impressive list of people you worked with, but
Yes.
very centered on the U.S. Do you have a...
Now, the other thing you never say is that's great, but. You see, you said that's an impressive list, but.
Oh.
So I'll just throw in another 20 for the charity.
But
another but. Now we're up to 80.
I'm getting schooled.
Now you see, you've learned another thing. The word but negates recognition. So when you say that's great, but the great is gone.
Yeah.
All
you're
people remember is the but. See, my biggest problem is I like what I do too much. And I'm kind of a coachaholic or a teachaholic. So like this flight, I have things I could have been doing, work I should have done, books I could have read. My biggest problem is I can't stop doing what I do. Sometimes you can feel happy about one thing. This is a short flight. My life has totally changed because of you. You've really made me understand that the key variable for successful coaching isn't the coach. It's those wonderful people being coached. It's the people around them. And the other thing I really want to thank you for, which has made such a huge difference, is not just me. It's the entire field of coaching. You have made such an impact because really before the help you gave me, coaching wasn't aimed at helping successful people. It was really focused on fixed problems. You have to be ashamed to have a coach. You wouldn't even tell people if you had a coach, embarrassed. And that's all changed.
I'll never forget when you made that transition. And the thing that impacted both of us was that when we understood that both of us wanted to make the biggest positive contribution we could to the largest number of people, you had a process. And when I saw that, then we had to take it to the next level to touch as many people as we can. And how do you do that? Go to the people that care, that want to make a difference. And so you were ready to go. You just need a little nudge.
I don't know if you remember this, but I told you, I said, Alan, of all the people I ever coached, I spent the least amount of time with you and you improved the most. 200 people got better and I spent the least amount of time coaching you, and I made a chart. On one dimension it's called time spent with a coach, Marshall Goldsmith, and another dimension called improvement. And there's a clear negative correlation between spending time with me and getting better. So I looked at Alan and said, you know, Alan, the way this chart looks, had you never met me, you'd really be good.
I'll never forget that. Well, and and what you have shared with everybody through your teachings, it really gets at the point of who you are.
Right.
Who you are as a person.
Tell the case story in Ford when that red, yellow, green story, when the guy says red and what you did. It was one of the most amazing examples of leadership I've ever seen.
Well, and it was such a serious time, as you remember, because you were there with me every step of the way. And we implemented the process, a discipline coaching, facilitating process, got everybody in the room. And then I introduced them to color coding to make it easy for people to understand. Please color code your status against the plan. Are you green, like everything's on plan? Yellow, you have an issue, but you have a solution? Or red, that you have a new problem, but you don't have a solution? But all 300 charts were green. All 300 green. So I remember,
how much money was the company losing?
And I had just shared with them for the first time that we were going to lose $17 billion.
$17 billion.
$17 billion.
Everything's green.
So I turned around to them a couple times, and I stopped me and I said, so, you know now, and I know now, and I've shared it with you, that we're going to lose $17 billion. Is there anything, just a couple of things that might not be going well?
Just a little bit.
And of course, eye contact's down to the floor. And so the next day, green chart, green chart, green chart, and then up comes Mark's red chart. I mean, the air just disappeared from the room. And so I said, that is great visibility, Mark. And so the following week, it was yellow. They had a solution. A couple weeks later, it was green, and the vehicle started flowing around the world. And remember what all the charts looked like the following week?
Rainbow.
rainbow, not all red, because in every organization and every company, there's so many things that are going well.
Right.
And you got to celebrate all of them. But now everybody around the world, the entire team knew why we were losing $17 billion. And now we could focus on turning the reds to yellows to greens.
You know, one thing that I use in almost every class I teach is this. I learned a lesson from J.P. Garnier, who was CEO of Glaxo. I said, what did you learn about leadership as a CEO of GlaxoSmithKline? He said, I've learned a hard lesson. My suggestions become orders. My suggestion. And he said, if they're smart, they're orders, and if they're stupid, they're orders. And if I want them to be orders, they're orders. If they know what they're orders anyway, my suggestions are orders. And, you know, I thought about you. When that person said red, if you would have said, have you thought of, what would have happened?
You bet. Thank you. I'll
Yes,
do
sir.
that. Not their responsibility anymore.
Final thing I want to say is, I always have a question, is my life better off or worse off because I met this person? My life is so much better because I met you, but I don't want to just thank you for me. I want to thank you for those thousands of other people whose lives are better because they met you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things that helped me the most in being open to coaching is when I realized that you were working with some of the foremost leaders in the world. And I said, oh, this is good. It's like Roger Federer. He's got a coach.
Right.
All of these wonderful CEOs, they have coaches.
First, when I met Marshall, he told me about the process. And it sounded simple enough. He was going to interview a list of people that, by the way, I chose. He didn't choose them. He doesn't know them. And he wanted it as comprehensive as possible. And he told me about the feedback. I was in tears. And I was like, well, that's not true, or well, this, or well, that.
It took me enormous courage. It was really hard. The first time I had to tell the team, I want to get better at these things. It's like, you know, being very vulnerable, meaning I'm not perfect.
Right.
I was confusing the search for perfection and the quest for performance, two very different things.
And he was like, remember, rule number one, and your job as a leader is to get the best out of everybody, to have the best team possible. This is not about you being the smartest, being right. You're gonna be as good as your team is and as the community around you is.
Good shot, Marshall.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Have you always had such great hand-eye coordination, or what?
It's kind of a mixed story. When I was a kid growing up back in Kentucky, I was told, you have no mechanical skills, you will never have any mechanical skills, by my mother, who didn't want me to work at my dad's gas station. It wasn't until I was at UCLA, I was about 26, 7 years old. Took a class from old Dr. Tannenbaum, and he said, what are you good at and what do you need to do better? And you know, I'm hopeless with mechanical things, but I'm a mathematical genius. And then he said, why can't you solve mechanical problems? And I thought, well, that's a good question. And then he said, how's your hand-to-eye coordination? Well, I said I could shoot pool, play pinball games. He said, well, why can't you hammer nails? He said, brilliant point. And I learned one thing, as long as we tell ourselves we can't do things, guess what? We're right, we can't. And I see this with people I coach all the time. They'll say, I can't listen. I say, why? You got something stuck in your ears? And so this is something I learned that's really helped me in my job.
That's right. Sounds like anybody can change.
Even me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Oh, no, I scratched.
Well, there you don't go. How's that work?
Your shot.
I'm going to take that 8-ball and hit it in that corner pocket.
Now, you know if you scratch, you lose. like that. That's a great finish.
Did you do your best to avoid proving you were right when it wasn't worth it?
Oh, yesterday not so good. I'd give myself about a 6. I got into some pointless argument. Oh well.
Oh well, there's always today. And did you do your best to avoid wasting time on things you can't change?
That was good. 10.
Did you say or do something nice for your wife, Lyda?
I'd give myself about an 8 on that one.
Minutes on developing new material.
30 minutes.
How many hours of sleep?
8.5.
Ounces of water.
64.
Why does someone who is as successful as you are have someone call you every single day?
Well, every day I practice something called the daily question process. I get out a spreadsheet, I have a series of questions that represent what's most important in my life. Every day I fill it out, and I have a person named Jasmine call me every day to make sure I do it. Someone said, wait a minute, don't you know the theory about how to change behavior? I wrote the theory about how to change behavior. That's why I have someone call me every day. My name is Marshall. I'm too cowardly to do this by myself and too undisciplined. I need help, and it's okay. The average person that does this quits within 2 weeks. Well, the reason I have someone call me every day is I know how hard it is. It's not like getting in shape, it's like staying in shape.
If we take the daily steps as an example, what does that mean to you?
Well, what I do every day is I have this watch that calculates how many steps I take. Every day I try to walk 10,000 steps. So it's a motivator every day to do something. Again, I know it's good for me. It's just hard to have the discipline to do it.
Marshall,
Yes.
where do you get all of your energy?
Energy. This is the most common question I get. How do you have so much energy? You travel all the time. And people don't say this, and you're old. And the way I get energy is I do a little chant every day before I work. A Buddhist chant. This chant gives me so much energy. Would you like to learn that little chant?
Yeah.
Everybody, sit up straight. Put your pencils, papers, machines away. Imagine there's a string that's kind of pulling you up so that your spine is perfectly straight. So sit up straight in your chair, center yourself. Breathe deeply. Look up here, do your hands like this. And the chant goes like this. There's no business like show business like no business I know. Now, I actually use that with my coaching clients. Why? Sometimes, even the ones I coach, not often, but they whine and complain. Poor me. Shut up. Did you realize how pathetic this sounds? You know, this is awful. And I use the example of a Broadway play. I say, have you ever gone to a Broadway play? And they say, yes. I say, did you ever see the kid get out there and say, my foot hurts? My aunt died last week. I have a headache. No, it's showtime. The kid is making 1,000th what you're making. If they can go out there night after night after night and bust their butts, guess what? So can you. Off to Japan.
How often do you travel, Marshall?
I travel all the time. In fact, I bet I travel more than anyone you've ever met. Have you ever seen a movie before called Up in the Air with George Clooney?
Yes, I remember that one.
In the movie, he's trying to get a special card called the concierge card from American Airlines. I have the card. Only my card is different than his. His card said 10 million miles in the movie. Look at my card. What does it say?
Oh my God, 11 million miles.
Yeah. I have 11 million on American, 2 million on Delta, 2 million on United, about 1.5 million on British Air. I don't even live there. So I have zillion miles. I just travel around the world all the time. I think I've been to 102 countries.
And how do you deal with the jet lag?
I have a very unique way of sleeping on the airplane. I can always sleep on the airplane. I put a blanket over my head. And for two reasons. One, somebody taught me this. When you put a blanket over your head, it holds in the body moisture. So when you breathe deeply when you sleep, the dry airplane air causes you to get a sore throat. Put a blanket over your head, you don't get a sore throat, which is very important for me. And two, when you have a blanket over your head, no one talks to you. In fact, one time I was on the plane, some woman walks by and she goes, "Is he dead? Is he dead?" Oh. Is this a group of high character, ethics, and integrity? Yes or no? Yes. He says yes. I'm going to test that right now with the entire group, including you. I'm going to ask you a question. A troublesome question, personal, perhaps embarrassing question. If the answer is yes, you must raise your hands. Are we ready? How many people in this very room are still stupidly attempting to change the behavior of a husband, wife, or partner who has no interest in changing? Come on, hands up. Get these hands in the air. Look at this guilty woman. look up here. Ah. I was teaching one class at Dartmouth. A woman raised her hand. I said, "Are you attempting to change mommy or daddy?" She said, "Daddy." I asked her, "What is daddy's problem?" She said, "Daddy does not have a healthy lifestyle." I asked her, "How old is daddy?" She said, 94 years old. Leave the old boy alone. You want to smoke a cigar, old man? Smoke too. Who cares? He's 94 years old. Now, a great lesson to help you be a better coach and have a happier life. In terms of coaching adults, if they do not care, do not waste your time. Now, I'm going to teach you something Peter Drucker taught me, and it's amazing how much my life is spent sharing this little tidbit of knowledge, and a lot of people never get it. You may or may not already understand this, but it won't hurt you to hear it anyway.
Please.
Our mission in life is to make a positive difference, not to prove how smart we are, right we are. It's amazing how we forget that so quickly. You've been phenomenally successful. Don't let it go to your head.
Absolutely.
Hard not to. People look at the numbers, they praise you, they talk about how wonderful you are. If you're not careful, you start believing all that. And then all of a sudden, that's where you get in trouble. This is preventative medicine. This isn't fixing a problem.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't let it go to your head.
Fair enough. And I'm just trying to stay hungry.
That's good.
Just trying to stay hungry. I want to build the best organization in Japan.
That's good.
And we're not there yet.
That's
I
good.
want it to be the best.
Perfect. My new book is called The Earned Life.
Yes.
And the importance of the earned life is really
to keep earning respect, to keep earning value, not to say, gee, I made it. If you look at the history of people like athletes, football players, basketball players, terrible 5 years later. Why? They quit earning it. People that win the lottery, seldom helps a lot. Why? They quit earning it. So I think it's very important as we look at life to keep earning it. Yeah. Our friend in the 100 Coaches, Jim Kipp, has probably saved tens of millions of lives. You know what he said? I earn my legacy every day.
Yes.
He's not saying, look at all the great things I did. I mean, why doesn't he just coast?
Yeah.
I didn't save tens of millions of lives. He did.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't coast. He says, I'm earning my legacy every day. I think that's a very healthy way to look at life.
You often use a phrase, life is good. Where does it come from?
I'm a Buddhist, and my Buddhist philosophy is that this is nirvana. It's not out there someplace. It's good. It's here. Well, my life is good philosophy is be happy now. Life is good now.
Yes. I receive each time your emails, life is good at the end, makes me feel good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope I didn't wake you up.
No, that's okay. I was just taking a little nap. So, what are we going to be doing in Switzerland?
In Switzerland, we're going to give a presentation at Sea Level. And Sea Level is an organization that organizes events for the Sea Level community.
So, for leading top executives at the C-suite level of big companies.
Yeah.
Sounds wonderful.
Now, for you leaders in the room, I have some good news. Your coworkers have incredibly low expectations. Do you have coworkers who are not in the room right now? Sure. You do, and your name is? Martin. If they knew you were here tonight listening to the esteemed Dr. Goldsmith, would they be holding their breaths waiting for the new Martin to reemerge as a result of this program? No, Martin, I'm going to help you. Let's tell the truth. Let's tell the truth. Your coworkers have incredibly low expectations. They don't think you're going to change a thing. They're just happy you're gone for an hour or two. Let's be honest here. If you're going to get better at anything, the motivation for improvement has to come from one and only one place. Where's that? In your heart.
Marshall, you inspire me. You're such a good friend. You've been such a great mentor to so many people. And what's next for you now?
I'm really going through a big change in my life. I just turned 70, and my life is going to be totally different from here on in. I no longer want to be that great achiever. I want to help others be the great achiever. I'm getting a biography made about me, which I'm excited about. I'm going to keep making videos, doing what I'm doing, new books. My mission now is to help others be great, not focus on being an achiever, be a mentor, and help other people. Let's talk about the next book.
Well, the first thing we got to agree on our book is on a title.
I like The Earned Life. I think it's a great title. I mean, you came up with it, not me. I love it, though. And I've really thought about how we can relate that to the importance of constantly changing in life. As Buddha said, thank you, Buddha. Every time I take a deep breath, it's a new me. You've got to constantly re-earn that life. And when we coast, we win the lottery, we were the basketball star, whatever, it doesn't work so well. So I'm very excited about it.
I think, yes, I agree. I think people feel much better about themselves. There's much greater satisfaction and gratification and honor in earning something rather than having it handed to you or just fall in your lap. The whole idea of an earned life is that you're either the victim of bad luck, the beneficiary of good luck, and neither of those are earned.
No.
But what you really want at the end of your life is to experience no regret, as if you didn't leave any opportunity on the table.
Right.
you kind of like squeeze the juice out of the rock.
Hello, Jasmine.
Hello, Marshall. Good evening. So, thinking of yesterday, how many steps did you have?
17,212.
Did you set clear goals?
10 on setting goals.
What are those goals?
I really want to focus on my legacy, the idea of helping others be great coaches. In my 100 Coach project, paying it forward so that I really create great people who then do the same thing and they create great people. And the biggest gift I can give them is this great opportunity to give to others. And with these amazing people comes greater challenges. We need amazing coaches. And the winner is another amazing person, Sanyan Shang.
And did you declare victory in life yesterday?
Well, as you know, the one thing I always score a 10 on is declaring victory. So yesterday, did I declare victory in life? 10 out of 10.
Wonderful. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Life is good. I'll talk to you tomorrow. When you're 95 years old and you look around that deathbed, very few coworkers are going to be waving goodbye. You realize these friends and family they're important. They're the people that care today. Don't get so wrapped up in your career and moving up that corporate ladder and getting ahead that you forget the people who mean the most to you, that you forget the people that love you. Always remember how important your friends and your family are. A great learning point from old people facing death is, if you have a dream, go for it. If you don't go for it when you're 35, you may not when you're 45, and probably won't when you're 85. It doesn't have to be a big dream, maybe even a small dream. Go to New Zealand, speak Spanish, play the guitar. Other people think your dream is goofy. Who cares? It's not their dream, it's your dream. It's not their life, it's your life. So if you have a dream, go for it. I had a very embarrassing experience in teaching this a few years ago. I said, go to New Zealand, speak Spanish. The guy raised his hand, he said, we're in Spain, you idiot. We all speak Spanish. So if you have a dream, go for it. Go for it.